All right, this is an interview with Maria Cartmill by her son Scott Zentner. This is what, July 17th, 2021, and we're in Parker, Colorado. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, Mom, where were you born?
In Puerto Rico.
Which town?
We Isabela.
Isabella. How many immediate siblings do you have?
4, and me 5.
Four sisters, 5 altogether.
Well, I started with, I wasn't born there, at the very end.
You were the last one. You're the youngest.
Just the one that I was 3 months old when my mother died.
Yes. Okay.
That was a neat thing to just say.
Okay. What was your father's name?
Laureano Ponce.
What did he do for a living?
He was actually a carpenter, and also on the I don't know if you say that you do the cane work on the summer when the cane is being picked.
Harvesting sugar cane.
Yes, he harvest for the one, because sugar cane for the mills.
Okay.
Papa was always a very intelligent man. He only went to second grade, school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he writes and all that sort of thing. And the people, always admire him because he's always helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had to give us a good work, he will give it to us because it's necessary. Don't get just a kid. Everybody respected my father. He was a man that could make anything, and he was working as a carpenter in the base for the soldiers. That's where we went to work for. And he enjoyed that. He sometimes would come back with little airplanes from the people that were working over there. But then they closed that part of the deal. There was no more more work for him. So that's when I started to start going to New York City, because everybody thought that the United States was in New York.
Yeah.
It was. I remember. I always kept saying this, because I said, did you come to the United States, or did you go to the United States? And I said, United States. I went to New York, but it was something funny, because most people that had gone there, people that were needy,
Right.
that don't have anything, and that they go to get whatever it is money that they can get in New York. It'll be a little more than what he's getting in a country like that, because you don't have somebody that will provide you some money.
Right.
My grandmother, when my father went to New York, he didn't send much money in. All these 5 girls and my grandmother in this house, Millie was the oldest one. As soon as she started to work, she started to give Papa money to buy groceries. And she would give it the money to Papa, and Papa would go to the main store in town and buy the stuff, and then we cook, the other girls to cook. But Millie was the one that provided everything, because she has already been in the Senate. She has more money. Her husband, they're well done. They're all people that have money. So, there was no problem. But we didn't live close to each other. So it was. If not, I think I only went once or twice to the big house in the other county, or whatever it is that it was called then.
Where Millie was living?
But Millie went to live with her stepfather, because Papa and the stepfather were friends, kind of in the school, around the school where I used to be. And when Millie grew, Millie, about 8 years old, she went to live over there with him because they had a big house and everything that you needed, and so they felt that there was not enough space in the house for so many people. So they took Millie in, and they bring Millie back all the way to the other town to stay the weekend with us.
Okay. How big was your house, and did you share a room with your sisters?
I shared rooms with the siblings and my father and everyone.
How big was the house?
Well, I don't know about maybe about this here to there. I wouldn't say that it's. We only had 2 beds in 2 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms, and the 2 beds were just not 2 bedrooms, 2 beds, the 2 beds. And in one, my father and Moni slept together, and they are tied side by side, the 2 beds, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
My father there, Moni was his favorite little baby. He was the baby, and I was still.
Mm-hmm.
But and then what else? And my other sisters that were there were in 2 other beds. In the one bed that is good size, both beds were good size beds. So there were about 2 or 3 of them together, and I was sleeping with my grandmother in a cot.
What was your grandmother's name? Do you remember?
Yeah, Encarnacion Martinez.
What do you remember? Your mother died when you were only 3 months old, so you don't have any memory of her, obviously.
No.
What is your memory of your grandmother? Any?
I have my grandmother was very good with me. She did everything for me. She cooked. She did cook for the other girls if not, but most of the time my sisters did the cooking, the oldest cooking.
She was your mother's mother?
Mother's
Your
mother,
grandmother
yes.
was your mom's mom?
Yes.
Okay.
And my grandfather.
Yeah. Was there running water in the house?
No.
How did you get water?
Go to the river where there was a river that was going through my father's land.
Did you guys ever try to collect rainwater from the roof of the house?
Oh yes, we had a barrel saw there, besides the house. But it rained quite often, so we collected the water in the big barrels, and that's where we drank the water from. And when they started to get kind of bad, the water, then with bugs and whatever, so we went back to the river to get water.
There was no electricity in the house?
No.
How did you cook food? What it is? It's
The
wood.
little ovens that there were at that time, I guess that they with the kerosene.
Mm-hmm.
They used kerosene and only have like two little
Burners.
Burners, and that was we never the younger ones never got in the kitchen, because it's so small and all that, and we had also before that actually we have been having a hot a stove that like they build with dirt that is kind of like a case, things like that.
Right.
And then there's all pots and pans in there, and that was the thing. After that, then they came the electricity or whatever, and they could get a gas and whatever. So.
How old? Do you have any idea how old you are when the house you got electricity?
Yeah, I think I was already getting into grammar school. I was in grammar school. I was when I was 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the first school.
But you never had running water in the house?
we had running water around that time there because they redid the thing that with the water running into the ocean like, and the water was very clear, very clean because coming down way over from north from the family's water thing, and and there was it was a not a very big river, but it was you could drown if you was a little kid. I was afraid to go across the river, but it was because I was little, and we take showers in there, in the river.
Bathe in the river.
We bathe in the river, and sometimes, other times we just do it in a pot in the house.
Um,
Or whatever.
how often did you have meat to eat?
Oh, I thought we were lucky. Maybe 1 or 2, 3 months, about 2 to 3 months, maybe we only had maybe the rice and beans.
So every couple of months you might have some chicken or pork or something?
Yeah, my sister said that they'll go and get some of the chickens from my grandfather. He has a big shed with all that, and he had a house there for him by himself because it's in there where all the stuff is growing in there, you know. So they all that, but my grandmother was the one that would go get all the stuff from my father, and in the morning he would make coffee for him. But he stays in that shed with a bunch of animals and everything. They had a lot of. Oh, I was scared to death of that.
But how often were you able to eat meat?
Maybe not very often. But what I would consider, since I've been in the business of cooking,
Nutrition.
the nutrition, is that you have you can get these foods that I'm buying from the store, and take the beans and the rice, and both of them together is a complete protein.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to be worried eating a lot of meat, you know. And so that's what we had. Rice and beans, every different color that you can find around. Then you could make soup or this or that, something different. And then when somebody, maybe my grandmother somehow got a chicken or something, or my sister, so it was really bad. She wanted to get a goat, so they went and had a panchito, and they got a goat, and they came and cooked it out there behind the house. Well, my grandfather never knew that was one of his goats or whatever.
So when you got a little bit older, what kind of chores did you do around the house or the property?
I didn't have much of any chores because I was a baby, like.
No, I know, but when you were older, like when you were 10 years.
I mean, we all took turns on cleaning the house.
Okay.
And the floors every Saturday we all clean the girls all clean up the house. The floors are always clean. My family is usually very clean people.
What did you girls do for fun?
No, there's no fun involved in this thing.
No, but I mean, when you must have had playing as a
We
little
had
kid.
at Christmas time, there were people that we knew actually, and away from our area where we were living by ourselves, you know. Somehow they were having a party for Christmas, and we know, so my father was invited, so we all went there, and just people that that
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's stuff that everyone for Christmas and all those people the holidays, we had people try to get like pasteles together and with meat in it, and and with a big pot can, and actually many of if it's not was, it was somebody else that they were sharing this stuff with them.
Yeah.
I was the last one left at the house before I could go to anywhere.
Right. Right.
My grandmother was the only one staying with me. And my grandmother didn't like to cook, But she didn't know how. I don't know what happened. Because I didn't know anything about since I was a baby. She did everything with cook something for them and all that. But anyway, it's things that happens.
So, what's your fondest memory of Puerto Rico? Being, living on the island. What's your nicest memory of that?
Oh, well, as a kid, I enjoyed very much running on the hills of my grandfather's land by myself. I was the youngest one. I was there. I'd take off under the wires there, but there were no animals in there. They were all fenced, and it was an area that it has been separated for housing or something, but it was not done for while I was there. Anyway, but I used to go, and I remember I was about 2, 3 years old, and I go there and look for those plants that have a lot of pins in it. What do you call it? I forgot that. It was all this that we could make spoons out of these plants. Is those okay? You can eat with those things. And well, I used to be, and other one, nobody played with me. The other ones are already grown, kind of, and I'm by myself. And the houses are not very close to each other, so I have company with the neighbors or whatever. And there was a neighbors that are there. There was some that we never went to the house, and so it all depends on what my father does. And everybody.
You then? When did you move to live with Millie in Aguadilla? When was that? How old
Right
were
there
you?
after I graduated from Isabela, on the high school. I went to. Millie is the one that insisted and all that, and we always talk about going to get a job always in the city, and I'm the only one that did that with Millie, and I didn't go, and I went to live with Millie.
And that's when you first got a job?
Yes, because that's where the town where the family is, actually Millie's husband family, all those, but they were all then at the time were they were in another country because he was in the service.
Right. What was your first job?
My first job was
The cleaners?
working with that in that cleansings. I didn't work in any other thing. The job that I did was at the school. They all provided maybe like they sent me to a dentist's office to try to practice this last year of school, and to do stuff for the doctors or something like that.
Or like a dental assistant?
Yes, something like that. And then when I graduated things and all that sort of thing, I just went to live with Millie. That was another town, so that's where I got the job at.
At the cleaners?
Huh?
At the cleaners?
Not at the clinics. I was the lawyer.
Right, but you told me you had a job with the cleaners, right?
Yeah, that was it. Only lasted like a couple of weeks because I was afraid of the man.
Yeah, the man was
chasing me. I was scared to death. Well,
Yeah.
I have to tell you the truth, Scott. I was very fishy for this stuff for sex and stuff like that. I didn't have to have that stuff
Right.
in there.
So then you left the cleaners, and then you went to work for the lawyer.
Yes, because the lawyers actually told asked the lawyer asked the owner that they were friends, uh, to get a job for me because she was Millie's sister,
Mm-hmm.
and she was, and Millie, everybody knew Millie for being a good person.
What do, in terms of your sisters, what are the, I mean, briefly, what are the notable things you remember about them? You know, growing up with your sisters in Isabella.
Well, all I know is that they tell me that Millie, even at 8 years old, was changing my diapers and doing that. And my grandmother, they'll help it. You know, my father is always out working or whatever, and so it's just us girls. My father had provided some food because I was working at the base, but uh, that was it over there. Once the base closed, there was nothing else to do. And but the girls, Millie and Titi and Piggy, they were always doing the cooking, and they did that. And Millie went out with the godfathers, and then she sent the money from there, money to Papa, because
Right.
those lawyers have money.
Which of your sisters did you spend the most time with? You played with and spent the most time with, do you think? You know, when you were a little kid, first grade, fifth grade,
I tell you, I was a lonely person
you know?
because once all the kids start going to school and you still little,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the ones that attend to the house is Papa, which is stay with us in those store those places like I told you, but he uh, he only had eyes for money. She loved money. He loved money. And money, actually, up to the days that Papa had died, money was still giving money to Papa. I mean, Millie was giving money to Papa, and money was not part of that deal. It's just I got it confused.
Did you have a favorite sister?
Oh, I think Millie is my favorite, and actually, the other sisters, we all care for each other immensely. We nobody. If anybody was gonna spank his father, my father, and boy, that guy he can really take that. Oh, that belt.
Yeah.
And one time when Papa took the broom, what happened is that Moni was the leader to go to the school, right? To go to the school because she's pretty and she had all these things that I didn't have. Because we had different faces. Moni was very pretty. They tell you she was shorter and she had a nice and all the guys were after her all the time. Me, I was out there with somebody another from the other room or something in the school. But she had the guys coming around there, and Papa wouldn't allow any of them in the house, any close to the house. The thing is that the road was right there in front of our house too, but Papa didn't allow that. He would tell the guys, out of here. And Piggy married Pepe. I mean, what is his name? Pepe? No, Pepe's married.
Millie's husband,
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah. No, I don't remember.
she had the house. The one that had the big house in the going towards the town. What was his name? Pepe?
No, we can get back to that.
I can't remember that. I can't forget all that stuff.
Okay, let's go further on. When did you meet Dad, Dale Zentner?
I met Dale when I went with a friend of mine, actually, who was the sister of Pepe.
Millie's husband.
Pepe, Millie's husband. Because they were in they were his father was a lawyer too, and the lawyer he had 12 children. They have had But they had a very nice home there on the main road in you know.
And that's in
He-
Aguadilla.
That's an Aguadilla, and that guy right there was a black guy. Is it- you know,
Anyway, okay.
no, that's it. But it was nice, you know. They everybody there they get to they don't know nothing and nobody is mixing things.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, the Pepe they live right there, right across the road from them, and Pepe was in the service, and they had 12 children.
And you met Dad. You met Dad through his friend.
This is Pepe's family.
Mm-hmm.
Millie's, you know,
Right.
husband. Pepe's was the father. But and this he, so he they they're very people that were very have a lot of class.
Mm-hmm.
They would serve soup and and beans or meats and stuff. 5 pieces.
5-course meal.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And the house is very nice, very nice. And the father, the only thing was that he was not, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but he was very nice, and he had a very good money and all that sort of thing. And they had like 12 kids, and out of the 12 kids, about 5 were lawyers,
Wow.
doctors. They all went to school.
They all did very well. And so, where exactly did you meet Dad?
Dale, I told
Dale.
you the nightclub over there where I got married. It's the hotel right there in the corner of the main thing there where a lot of young people go to dance or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was only, and other times we would go to. I would go to home at Hobos. Hobos is the place that we lived. You know, Hobos is like a side thing, a side part of Isabela. Isabela is the main town where all that stuff happens, right?
You mean Aguadilla or Isabel?
Isabela. Isabela was the town where I lived.
I know.
Where we all lived.
It's near Aguadilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aguadilla was another town closer to the base where that all was being cultivated, and it was getting closer, like to the beaches and all that.
Right, right.
And the other ones, you know, it's about the same thing. But they had a lot of traffic and everything in there, you know, because the roads were not very well made because they're still kind of fresh businesses, you know, that people that were, and they had to go like they had to go from one town to another in order to go to Millie's, where Millie was living, and then the grandfather, his great grandfather or whatever it was, his whatever, can't remember, he would bring her to Millie over to the house for her to, because there's the other people and Millie's there, they all like her and all that stuff, and there were people all with good stuff, you know, and I don't know, there's a lot of people in each homes.
Yeah. So you met Dad in a nightclub, and you started dating, I guess. When did you get married? How soon did you get married after that?
I took quite a bit of time. I think I was not planning to do much, you know, thing actually, and I can't remember how long I was being there, because Dale was going to go to overseas.
You got married in '58.
Yeah.
And how long did you know him before you actually got married? Was it a year or?
I got married when I went to get married. Why?
I know, but how long after you met him did you get married? Was it a year, 2 years?
Oh, I think it must have been a year or something.
So, okay.
Because he would come by the house, and Millie and Pepe were the ones, you know, looking over me and all that sort of thing, or one of us or whatever.
Right.
Although I was already going to working to the lawyers and all those people.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that they were all people that they care for you, you know, people that matters, you know.
Right. How long did you and Dad live? You know, after you got married, how long did you live in Puerto Rico after you got married? You remember?
Well, I think the kids were already. You guys were probably later.
No, that's later. But how long did you two live in Puerto Rico together?
Oh, in Puerto Rico. Well, in Puerto Rico, we went to live in an apartment that was like kind of close to where the office that I was at,
Mm-hmm.
and that I was working at the lawyer's office, the one that I just not the first lawyer, but the other lawyer that I was like 4 years working there, because then after that I married him.
Mm-hmm.
So just the Air Force, you know, the things that they just move.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go no matter what.
And so, where did you go to live when you left Puerto Rico? Dad was
When I
stationed in where did you go to live in the United States right after that?
Oh, the United States was when Dale Denai went to Maine.
Mm-hmm. Loring Air Force Base.
Loring Air Force Base.
So he was at
Maine.
Ramey.
Dina was born there.
So he was at Ramey first in Aguadilla
The Ramey things, yeah.
in Puerto Rico. Then you went to Loring Air and
No,
Dina-
I didn't go into anything in there for my Guadilla. It was just not nothing to do with that. It's just
No, I know, but he was stationed first at Ramey.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
he went to Loring. So you guys moved to Loring Air Force Base in northern Maine.
Yeah, so he has been about 4 years already over here
Mm-hmm.
in California, in Puerto Rico, and then they transferred him. They transferred him to Texas.
Okay, but first, so Dina was born in Maine,
Maine, yeah.
1961,
Mm-hmm.
and you were in Loring. What was it like moving to Loring, Maine?
Lawrence is just a tiny little town that was in between the base and the things, mostly base people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the kids were born in Loring.
Well, Dina was.
And
But what was it like moving from Puerto Rico all the way to northern Maine? What
It
was
was
that
terrible.
like? It was terrible.
It was terrible because the problem was that I had to go by myself, because he had to be at the base ahead of time to be there, to be able to receive me and everything. And I went from New York City in a bus from New York City. I had never been in a bus before. And I went in this bus. It was like almost, it had been snowing for days, and it was at the bus. And I had gotten pregnant already, Dale. And I was 7 months pregnant.
Was that the first time you'd ever seen snow?
Well, I saw some in Wisconsin.
No. But that was later. But when you went to New York, when you were
Over
going,
New York, yeah.
you went
yes.
from Puerto Rico to New York to Maine on that trip, was that the first time you saw
yeah.
snow? Was in New York? Did you fly on a plane from Puerto Rico to New York?
Yes, we fly actually from New York. We went from Puerto Rico. We came into a flight from the base,
Right.
and then we stopped in Kentucky. In Kentucky, he said where
The layover.
it was not a laid over, because it's just the base only. This is all transfer only for people that is the work.
The military.
And
yeah.
so we had to rent a car in Kentucky to go to Wisconsin.
No, you went to New York first, right? I'm talking about when you went from Puerto Rico to Maine.
That for I could not remember that
Okay.
thing so bad is that the snow and run,
Right.
the the buses keep jumping.
So you went from the
And
you
I
went on a
had
bus from
7
New
months
York
pregnant.
to on the bus from New York to Loring, Maine.
And I
Okay.
had my feet, my legs had gotten so fat, so solid. And my belly's over here, and all this. And thank God that they had bathrooms in these buses, because I don't know how others. How could you make you get they don't just stop the bus every time and somebody had to go pee
Right.
and that thing. But I tell you, Scott, it was I could barely walk when I got to where Dale was over there, the main gate or something. Oh my God, I tell you.
So you were in. So real briefly, what was life like? Once you were in Maine, what was it life like there? Did you like it? Was it bad? Was it tough?
The flight from
No, not the flight. What was it like to live
Oh, to
in
live.
Maine?
I didn't mind living over there. Actually, it's not. Most of the people was all people from the service.
Yeah.
They're all apartments, pretty nice apartments. The one that I was living there when Dina was born, and that's the one that Dina fell so many feet down, and somebody left the gate open, so the little she. All of a sudden, I heard a noise, and and I start screaming when I see Dina rolling down these steps that are really long. And I'm screaming, and nobody around there coming around to help or nothing. And what happened was that I could not jump over the thing because the garbage was going first. Rolling, and Dina right after the garbage. And me, I cannot get this together here, all the how to stop it. I couldn't stop it. You had to go all the way down.
So she was tumbling down the stairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could say it was not concrete, it was wood.
Yeah.
And wood. And Dina was not screaming, but I was screaming so loud. Those steps. Oh my God, oh my God. I didn't make it friends. We just moved there, know.
And you didn't speak much English either, right?
Oh, that's right too. That was it took a long time for me to learn some of the English. Actually, for the friends that Dale and I made it over there at the base, that we living in the same quarters or something, and they were from Texas, and what was her name? I can't remember her name. She used to take care of the baby if I had to go someplace, because there were people that just with the soldiers, and I tell you, that was pretty nice stuff in there. Everybody helped each other really, And the lady that was the one that they met Dale at the base, her and her husband, and they were close to where we lived, so they started to visit us. But I tell you, Scott, I couldn't understand a thing of what they were talking. I mean, I tell you, I feel, sometimes I feel really bad for people that are trying to talk to each other in town, and they start putting names to them because they shouldn't be here because they don't speak English or whatever. That is very bad, because we don't have the blame for this, And we had good jobs. We have more than they did.
So you lived in Maine for a couple of years, and then
we were living 1 year in Maine.
1 year, and then
in Maine.
And then what happened?
Then we went to I had a baby, and then after that they transferred Dale again. They had to transfer him, and that's when we went to Wichita Falls, Texas. Wichita Falls, and there was a very nice ladies. They had a nice home. There were people from Texas. They were very nice, particular people, But anyway, we got a house that's next to it. And the lady was really nice with me, and and Dale, and that was the day when Kennedy was killed.
Hmm.
Always remember that.
But by then, Kent was already born.
Yes,
Earlier that year.
Kent was born in Wisconsin, and
Okay, so how did you get to Wisconsin? Why were you in Wisconsin when Kent was born? Was that Dad was in OCS?
no, I was living in Wisconsin with the family.
I know, but why were you in Wisconsin? Because Dad was at OCS, right? Wasn't he in officer candidate school?
Oh
at that
yeah,
time?
yeah. I didn't go to any place. We stay. I stay with the Zerners,
Uh-huh.
and then that's where I went to. Kent was born in
Middleton.
no, not in Middleton.
Well, in Wisconsin.
Huh?
In Wisconsin, though. He was born
Well,
in
he was
Wisconsin.
he was born in what it is? Oh my goodness, I had that on the mouse right now.
It's fine, but he was born in Wisconsin. Was that the first time that you met Dad's parents? His family?
No, when before I came from Puerto Rico to New York to them, it is that was the first time that I went to over there to Wisconsin. So we got a ride from the base to Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
and from there Dale bought a car, and we drove to Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
From Wisconsin, there is when I stayed there for a while, but then I tried to go to Moni's or Millie's. No, Millie's never was in New York. Titi. Titi was in New York, and Moni, but the other ones.
Yeah.
I was the last one left at the house before I could go to anywhere.
Right. What are your memories of first meeting Dad's family in Wisconsin? What were they like?
They were very nice. The only thing is I couldn't understand them.
Right.
And they couldn't understand me either most of the time.
Right.
And there was a very nice close families. They are actually there in Wisconsin. I noticed that they like for the nightclubs and for the first of the year parties and stuff. Everybody was in that bar, and it was all friends of your family, people with kids and everything, and they were, waiting for the New Year's to come in, and it surprised me really that I was sitting at the counter with Dale at the counter, and we all having a drink, and so all of a sudden it was New Year's Day, and it's all these men coming around to kiss me in the mouth. I had no idea what the heck was going on. They were sitting there talking and meeting other people. I'm still sitting there, and the guy's coming around to give me a mouth to mouth, and I tried to get away from that thing. It's just terrible, but it was funny. Anyway, there are people that are funny. They're nice.
They all want to find a woman to kiss on New Year's Eve. When the New Year comes in.
They're like that. They were really very, very nice,
Yeah.
But me, I'm not used to that.
Yeah. His family was nice to you?
Yeah, they're very nice.
Hazel and Emil, they were nice to you?
They're very nice people, very nice people. I had to admit that they took care of Kent while he was, because I still had to have a surgery after having the baby, and the baby, and Hazel and
Emil?
Emil, yes, Emil. Like how well you remember. And they was very, very helpful people, and they help with the babies, and they just the two of them and two of us.
Did you ever get a feeling that they didn't like that Dad married a Puerto Rican woman?
Didn't say anything. They were very nice because we really could not converse with me too much.
Right.
And so you
But you didn't feel
you
like
feel a little lonely because you
Right,
don't have
right,
it.
right.
But they had TV on all the time and all that, so we just sit around with them watching TV, and their babies, you know. And the only thing was that the area was very pretty, but there's a lot of bugs out there,
Yeah.
a lot of bugs, and that's when Dina had a tick stuck on her head.
Oh man.
It was, it was awful. I was taking her, giving her a bath, and I was washing her hair, uh, and I started cleaning and washing. All of a sudden, I see this lump on the hair, on the neck of the head, and I said, "What is that?" It wasn't probably about that fat.
Yeah.
It's a big, like, he was full of blood,
Right. Right.
I started screaming from the toilet out there to the living room. Help, help!
Kind of like when she fell down the stairs.
I was dying. We were dying or something, and they come running, Ethel and
Yeah, the
what
grand
is
Hazel and Emil, yeah.
and Emil was such a nice person too, but he came and that time looking at he said, "What is the problem? What's happening? What's going on?" And this is that, and then Emil comes behind and he says, "Oh, that's nothing. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Don't say it's nothing." Well, they had to open that thing.
Yeah.
He had to put the cigarette burning on that thing that
Right.
was up here, and that made that thing come out. You're not supposed to just cut them in there. That you are supposed to pull them whole because that is what damaged the head. The head
The
if
skin,
you
yeah, or whatever, yeah.
because I was saying, I was so shocked. I never seen anything like that before. I mean, we don't have that kind of things in Puerto Rico. I said, and they had all those trees in over there, all those big trees, and all those are full of bugs.
In Wisconsin, yeah.
And I said, my goodness. And then there's the Emil and there's Hazel, and I'm over there crying, and Dina is still like a year old or something. Yeah, I had to sit standing on the toilet while I tried to wash it or something, and all of a sudden she's all wet, and I'm screaming over there, and the other ones keep running. He said, "Oh my God!" I had nightmares for months, I think.
So, Dad eventually goes to officers candidate school, and you guys he ends up being transferred to California,
Yeah.
and you went to Castle Air Force Base, and then you ended up at March Air Force Base. Is that about when you started to work again? When did you go? When did
I go back to work?
Yeah, when did you go back to work?
It was a long time, quite a while, because Dale was still, at home and whatever. But I started to work mostly because I could tell that the marriage is going the wrong way because he has been hitting me too much.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So and he was just because men had tangled up with other women, and it's so sad, So I started, and there was one of those guys that he feels guilty when you do something, when he does something, and I start hollering and screaming or whatever, and then he started to get, if I don't shut up, he started to hit slapping me in the face. Can you get that on?
No, it's okay.
But
So So I was born in 1965 when you're at March Air Force Base. The marriage is, you have the problem. So you start to go, when do you recall when you started? Did you, in California, is the first place you worked at the Cooperative Extension, or was it someplace else? Did you do any other kind of work first in California?
In California, I was I just was when I had one or two. You was born in
65.
65.
When did you think you started working after that? Was it 4 or 5 years later, or?
I think we were living in, at first we started in the base housing, and then at the base housing we rented a house in also the house I used to live in,
Yeah, over there by.
Juanita
Right, right.
Juanita Avenue,
Mm-hmm.
and there but they started to get a lot of things in between Dale and I, because he was keep going and going and coming in at 2, 3 o'clock in the
Yeah, I
morning,
know.
this kind of crap. But he and we just stood there, and about, I don't know about, we finally, I went to the priest and talked to him, and this it says, well, you probably have to do the best you can,
Right. So did you start working before the divorce?
Yes,
And was that at the Cooperative Extension?
yeah,
So that was around what, 1969 or so?
that was right after yeah,
Somewhere around there.
because I went to two jobs. I, I went looking at, of course, maybe with my accent, it was a little problem. But I went first with
Put your hand down.
the guys from the lawyer to work, and then that didn't work out. But I mean, just move around. Anyway, and I had that. I can't believe that I have all these things. I should have had this book written.
Yeah. But when did when did you start, do you think, with the FNET program, Cooperative Extension?
The program that was in 1960, I think. 60.
No, not 1960. When did you start working at the Cooperative Extension?
That's when I started.
1970, you mean?
No, 69, 69.
That's what I mean. So, okay, 1969.
69.
1969. And what was that job? Explain it. What was the
That job was a combination of
program?
well, it's the FNAP and the county of from the country. I mean,
Yeah, from the UC, University of California. Yes.
yeah, but it's the ones over there. I first started with the credit union, with the
Okay.
credit union. There's where there was insurance for cars and all that sort of thing.
Right.
And they gave me that job over there for that, because they asked me to come and get me at the house.
Who did?
The one of the ladies that used to work at the county bureau center where I used to work, and she said, we're trying to find you. He said, we need to. Mrs. Jarner would like to have you to come in and apply for a job.
So a woman who knew.
But at the beginning, I have Mrs. Jarner, and she was the key person for me to get a job in a county there, because she was the most nice person and a very, very intelligent person. That's the most intelligent person aside from my sister that I found that the person. She knew she was a home economist, and she was running the program.
Right. Right.
And she's the one that talked to the other girl to come and get me, because she had interviewed me once a little, but then I did have a little space of time that nobody checks on you, whatever, and then all of a sudden it happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice.
So a woman who knew you already, she came to you,
Yeah.
and Mrs. Yarno was the woman who was the director of the
Yeah,
cooperative extension. This was part of something called the Extended Food Nutrition and Education Program, a
yeah,
federal social work nutrition program that was administered through the University of California, right?
yeah.
Then it was called the cooperative extension.
Cooperative
Okay.
station is and the county.
So they came to you to get a job there.
They are working
Yeah.
in conjunction. Those two, they have always done that.
Hmm.
But
So you started about 1969 there.
yeah, 69, 1969. I always remember that.
Hmm.
And yeah, because I was 69.
And it was around that time that you guys got divorced.
Yeah, because
And
it
then
was too much drama. But
how long did you work there?
I didn't work at the bureau that much, because from there they got it. They hired me at the cooperative station.
Yeah, but how long did you work at the cooperative extension?
23 years.
And what was your job there? What did you do there?
I was a person that did the training for we had like 20 people, kind of low income people, but with the knowledge of things, and we had to train them to learn about nutrition and vitamins and stuff that goes, with everything. And we had about 20 people that started, and first they had to train me. It was part when I went to out there in Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
We had to get for trainings over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then one time we took 2 or 3 people out to give him more training and all that, and they had to stay over there and all that sort of thing, when you guys were left alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very interesting. I enjoyed that job very much. I actually thought that was is something that had opened my life and myself, going to this kind of work, because I was not. But of course, they hired me because I already had training on legal work in Puerto Rico. I mean, all that is taken into consideration, and they knew me because I had been working a little bit with a insurance company that is also in the bureau,
Mm-hmm.
So we when they started to come here to look for me for because I had made firms at the bureau, they came over to the house to find me, and they said they would like to give you a job. And I said, a job? I wasn't even planning. I wasn't working a job yet until all that thing, and she said, well, yeah, but you can you come and interview and all this? And I said, well, I guess, but I was not prepared. So and they already seen me before, so they figured they went to the house for that, I said, that's pretty nice when somebody offers you the job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Means they want you.
I still had a big God call it the lip. How you call it? You guys can work
Accent?
Huh?
You had an accent? Is that
Yes.
what you're talking about? Yes.
They have an accent, but I was trying to use all the words, and I can't. That works very good, and I started as a secretary at the building, at the county building, and then after that, they changed things. The Berkeley, they keep having turnings of things, and they all they check you all over, all the time. So I just kept on. I had no problem. They all wanted me over there because I knew the secretary work.
You eventually became a supervisor of
Yeah,
of the
because
of the
I
social
had about
workers who went
20
out.
people supervisor at the beginning.
Uh-huh. And these people, these folks, they went out and they would basically give counsel to low income people to teach them how to eat well
Yeah.
on a budget.
Some of them, most of the people were very intelligent people that are partaking of that. They only had a problem one time.
Right. And what did you enjoy about the job? You mentioned a moment ago that it sort of expanded your life. I mean, what did you like about the job?
I say that I learned so much in my job. I mean, this is one thing that I really appreciated. Coming from Puerto Rico, I've had some little stuff there in Puerto Rico, but not that much. But the thing is that you get so much out of some place where you can learn to accommodate yourself, and people treat you right, you know what I mean? I don't worry about who's white, who's black, or whatever, And we have problem with blacks, that happened. I had to get some. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just part of life. The thing is that I had no more problem. I'd say there until I could because I had the cancer and I wanted to get out because there's too much work.
Yeah, that was in the early 90s.
Huh?
That was in the early 90s.
And 1993 is when I started to get out of the
right
of that job.
out of the job. Yeah.
And I would like to actually go back, but I was always having problem with the cancer thing.
Mm-hmm. So you were diagnosed with the breast cancer around 1992, 93, somewhere.
See, the 1993 was when I got out of that thing. What do you call it? I can't remember words, Scott.
You got remarried around what year? 1980?
1980.
Uh-huh. And you were married to Ron for 20 some years. And then again around 1990. When do you think you were diagnosed with the breast cancer?
Say that again.
When do you think you were diagnosed with the breast cancer? It was around 92 or 93?
Oh, the breast cancer I had in 1992, was it? It's in the same area of when I had the cancer. That's when it was.
Around the time
I started to get out of the thing.
The job. You quit the job, yeah. So, but you had remission and you've never had the cancer since. You had
Well, no, I haven't had any cancer, see, but I had the breast removed.
Yeah, yes, right. You had mastectomy.
And it's always had giving me problems.
Yeah. For all of this, the marriages and the having the kids and whatnot, what do you think you want to tell your grandchildren? Do you have any thoughts about?
Well, we take just the same thing I tell you.
Which is about
The best
life.
thing is to prepare themselves for school. The school is the most important thing to have. I think no matter what happens, but this is the way it is, and I pay attention and don't go, cutting classes and doing this and that because you're not going to get anywhere then. Because that means that you are not responsible. And when you're not responsible, and that means that you've been a brat or something, that person that doesn't apply, that don't. At least all my kids went to school.
Yeah. What do you think is the most important thing to do as a parent?
Oh, I actually think that the way the things are in this world nowadays, I noticed that, like, being in contact with schools and all that sort of thing, there are so many kids there that have nothing, no sabe of what be good for him or not, and they are left. The parents are leaving these kids to kind of help themselves, you know, and. So this child here that he would like probably to go to school, but he can't because the parents are not
Doing their job.
good jobs like it's supposed to. That also irritates me. I can't stand that.
You have to spend time with the children.
I think that is the awful thing is to go have a baby, and then go right back to work, leave the baby with somebody else, and that is not the right thing to do. I had my babies, but I was always home, you know, for those things. That just after you was what?
I was about 4 or 5.
How old
I was
you?
4 or 5, I think, when you started at the cooperative extension.
Yeah, that
But
was.
that was different. There was the divorce and all of that. But
That-
you basically were at home for the first 10 years that you were, that the kids, yeah.
I only did that because I was afraid that if I didn't go to work or something, even though I didn't know much of what I was saying, that there's no way of taking care of the child
Right,
with you know without it's just amazing.
right.
Yeah, it's so you know full of this thing because I think I never would think that I would be here any place, you know. And it is because we are my family, although they didn't have much any money, but they were intelligent people. They were Millie was super intelligent. But I think a kid should be like if they are all ornery and start getting angry and cussing and things that kids that maybe 5-6 years old that are going to go to school, all that, and parents ignore it. You don't ignore things like that. You have to smart to the child in order for them to learn that they need to learn these things in order to live a life.
So you need discipline, but you also have to be loving.
Well,
Yeah. Wanted to bring up something that, so, you were divorced from Dad around 1970 or so?
it's 1970.
So about 1970, and more than 30 years later, Dad passed away. Dale Zentner
30
passed
years,
over 30 years, 2006 or something. I can't
can't
remember.
remember.
But you were the only person with Dad when he died.
Yeah.
You were in the hospital room with him. Gwen, his then wife, who was actually much older than him, she wasn't physically able to get to the hospital, I don't think. I forget the situation. And people were calling around because Dad was in the hospital. And you had been divorced from him for more than 30 years. And you mentioned that, you know, he
That's
did.
because Dina called me.
Yeah, and he, you know, he did some bad things when you were married and all of that. So you went to the hospital
At midnight, I'm going to the hospital
to see your ex-husband
because the doctor called.
and couldn't get a hold of other people, and you were the only person. And why did you go?
Because they called Dina.
I know, but why did you go to the hospital?
Well, because I felt that he's part of me still, you know. I mean, he was my husband. My kids are part of all, you know. If you don't have you, it's just awful to let a person sit in the hospital and not, you know. But without my kids, you know, this is it, you know. And if Dina cried and I cried or whatever, and I said I just flew out there to Loma Linda and did this, you know. And it was midnight, you know. I hate to go out at nighttime, you know. Yeah. Usually I do. I don't like to be out on the thing. And then I got to the hospital, and it was so sad because to me, because he was dying when I got in there. He was still dying. He was still couldn't breathe, you know. He all that, And when the doctors and the nurses saw me coming to there, and I asked about Dale, and he said, "Oh, you are his wife." Or the one said, "Well, I'm divorced from him, but my daughter called me about it, and she lives in Arizona, and I'm gonna take her place, and he was the father of my kids, and that's it. It doesn't matter who the heck, who's the one." So anyway, it was a kind of,
Yeah.
and then it just made me feel bad because I was praying with him on the bed, but he was kind of sitting like sideways, like, and in his chest, so, and and the doctors would come in and say they were telling me that how nice can I be to go and do this for him. And I said, well, he just was my husband. I had kids, and they all belong to him too. So there's no need to worry about to who what.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that I feel so sorry for him because all of a sudden you came out. But
Yeah, I showed up. I
showed
finally
up.
got there.
And you
And
was
I-
afraid to move his head or something.
Yeah, well, he was gone already then, but he was lying in the bed, and I got there, and I wasn't surprised, but as you can tell, it was one of the most moving things in my life to see you
Yeah, yeah. It
alone
just
in there with him.
I know. I know, but you learn so much for that, God. You just love your kids, you know, and and it's good. Don't just cuss and swear and whatever, but the things that kids will learn to love you more. That your kids love you, that much, and Sarah is very 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 good with them too. So, but just to think about how well I can go through something. I wanted to write a book, but I had no time for books. But anyways, it's kind of good to know that. It's good to write all this stuff and know about it.
It's good to make a recording like this. Anyway,
I wonder if you should give a copy of that stuff to Dina and Scott.
well, we will. We will.
Dina and Scott. I think your Scott is you.
Kent, you mean Kent? Yeah.
So Kent is very very good about that. He worries a lot about things.
Well, I think that's probably the reasonable
You guys
place to end
should
this.
can come and go on. After I leave, you guys can go and have a good party and celebrate me.
Okay, we will.
Hopefully, I can get somewhere that is safe.
You will.
Anyway, so you.